7th, switch over to G7th. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next measure. 1, 2, 3, 4. And back to that C. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very good. Now take a look at exercise number 3. Now we're going to alternate those chords a little bit quicker, which is, I know it's probably getting a little fast for you, but let's try it. You ready? Start on that C. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now to the G7. Try and not hesitate between each chord. Back to C. G7th. There you go. Back to C. Very good. That's the C, and that's the G7th chord. Now, it may have moved a little fast for you. You may have trouble keeping up at this point, but after we do it, and we go through our workshop time here in a minute, then you'll be able to knock these out pretty quickly. Okay, welcome to Guitar Tips. On this segment, we're going to talk about specific things that have to do with guitar playing that aren't necessarily the technique stuff that we've been covering in the other section. These are some things, these are some items that I would suggest you get from the very beginning if you're interested in starting to play guitar. You can pick these up on our website, or you can also check your local music store. First thing we're going to talk about is one of the most useful things is an electric guitar tuner. They come in different shapes and sizes. This is a pretty standard one. You would plug your guitar in, so your guitar would have to have a pickup in it, either an electric guitar or an acoustic guitar like this one that does have a pickup in it. And you plug it in, and it helps your guitar tune. And as you can see, the tuning is a little bit of a tricky subject if you try and do it manually. So electric tuner like this, sometimes you don't even need a pickup. They have microphones in them, and you just play the note, and it tells you whether you need to loosen the string or whether you need to tighten the string. And when you get it when you get the dot in the middle, then you're in tune. Another thing I would suggest you get right from the very beginning is a string winder. A little thing like this, probably just cost $1 or $2. When you're changing strings, this is a lifesaver because you'll be winding and winding these strings all day long if you don't have a string winder. So it's well worth the $1.50 to get one of these. Next thing I would suggest is a case. Some of you may have cases that come with your guitar. A lot of guitars don't come with cases. They just come in a boxed shipping container. So you don't want to use that as your case. It's good for you to go ahead and get a case. Now there's 3 different types. You can get a hardwood case, which that's the strong as you can get. And that's maybe a little bit more than you're wanting to spend. They're pretty pricey, but they do protect your instrument the best it can be. Kind of a step down from that is called a chipboard case. It's a solid case, but it's almost made out of a cardboard, a strong cardboard material. That's a chipboard case. That's good for lugging your guitar around, getting it in and out of the car, that sort of thing. The third type of case is a soft case, a padded case. You put your guitar in this, kind of zip it all up, carry it on your back, and carry it in and out of the car. It isn't as protective as the hard cases, but it does offer some great advantages in portability. Some other little things that I would suggest you get are a metronome. Here's a pretty standard metronome. They also come in different kinds too. Only thing a metronome does is click off a tempo, a good steady tempo. I can speed it up and slow it down. They have electronic ones as well. Now I'd encourage you to there's all kinds of metronomes. Some of them offer a beep, where it just beeps at you. Other ones, you have a click, and I would definitely recommend you get the ones that have a click, not that has a little beep that goes past. It sounds good when you're listening to it, but when you actually start playing with one that has a beep, you'll realize it's much better to have one that has a click. Also, I would encourage you to get a music stand. You can get the little wire ones, or you can get a little bit more sturdy metal music stands. Place for you to put your music, put your resources that you're going off of, so you're not just sitting on the couch looking at it far away at a coffee table or something like that. Now, some other things I would suggest that you have done with your guitar. because you want to make sure that your guitar is easy to play. There's nothing worse than playing a guitar that is just difficult to play. It gets you frustrated, hurts your fingers, and you end up wanting to chuck the whole thing. So it's a very good idea to have your guitar set up, is what they call it. Is have a setup done on your guitar. What they do is they look at your guitar and they look and make sure that whether your neck is straight. You can do a visual check of that at yourself at home by just kind of looking down the neck of your guitar and making sure it's pretty straight. You don't want it bowing in or bowing back out again. And they can adjust your guitar through a metal rod that's actually inside of your sound hole here. It's called a truss rod. So it can be adjusted. It's not that big of a deal at all. The other thing that you want to check on your guitar is the bridge. Your bridge is this right here. Remember we talked about that. You want to make sure there's no gaps between it and the soundboard. There should be no gaps. If there is gaps, that means it's pulling up, and that's not good news. You also want to have adjusted, and this is part of a setup job, is your action. What action is the distance of the strings from the fretboard. The higher this is, the wider that action is, the more difficult that guitar is going to be able to play. The closer that is to these frets, the easier it's going to be able to play. If your guitar is hard and difficult to finger and to get those notes down without buzzing, have your action checked. That's probably one of the best things you could do. How should you take care of your guitar? Well, just for a second, let's talk about that. You don't want to get your guitar too hot. You don't want to get your guitar too cold. Your guitar really is just wood and glue. And so if you get this thing too hot, it starts warping and coming undone. I can put a heat lamp on this bridge, and in about 5 minutes it peels right up. So it really is just wood and glue. So you just want to make sure you don't do stupid things like take your guitar in the car in the mall. It's in the middle of summertime. That temperature inside your car is probably going to get about 150 degrees at least, and that's well enough to do pretty serious damage to your guitar. So you just want to be real careful with that. It can be hot, but not really hot. Also, you don't want to get your guitar super cold or change temperature really fast. It's in the middle of the winter, your guitar's been out in the car, it's well below freezing, you bring it in, whip it out, you're going to practice like I said you should, that's great, but you set your guitar next to a heater vent. That would be bad. Your guitar, ever so slightly, expands and contracts, and it would crack the finish on top of your guitar. It won't affect how it's going to sound, but it's not going to look very pretty from then on, and once you crack your finish, there's no going back. It's like cracking a windshield on a car. Last thing, you want to be careful not to set anything on top of your guitar. Even when you put it in the case, you don't want to put your music on top of your guitar or put any weight on it down this way. There's just not any bracing that way, and it could crack. Those are just some tips on caring for your instrument and knowing what to look for and some things you should buy at the very beginning. All right, here's your assignment for this session. We've covered a lot of ground, but here's what you need to do in order to move on for the next session. Do all of the finger exercises in your book on all of the strings to toughen up your fingers and also to build motor skill development and control. Second thing you need to do, memorize the names of your strings. Third thing you need to do, practice that C and G7th chord and the exercises that are with it. Each note should sound out clearly, and try not to hesitate when you're changing chords. If you do all of these things and practice them faithfully over the next coming days, you will be ready for the next level. And I'm going to help you practice when we get to the workshop time. I'll see you there. Okay, welcome to the guitar workshop time. This is the portion where we get to practice together. First thing we do before we practice, we're going to do a little hand stretching exercise. So I want you to get your hands, put them fingertip to fingertip, start pressing down. We're stretching out these muscles. You're not trying to break your fingers now. You're just trying to stretch them down. Last thing to come down is your palm. Then your palm comes up. Stretch these out here. Can you feel the difference? Can you feel those muscles stretching out in there? That's a good way to get your hands warm before we get ready to play. Now let's do these finger exercises that we talked about on your page. We're going to start out with the first finger exercise, number 1. Remember, we're going down, up with our hand, right hand, and then we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2, 1 with our left hand. We will do it slowly at first, and then we'll play it one time a little bit faster. Here we go. Down, up with our pick. Ready, go. First finger. second finger, third finger, fourth finger, back to third, second, first. Let's do that again. Go back up to second. Second. There you go. Third. Fourth. Third. Bracing your hand. Slow and steady. Make sure your fingers are doing exactly what they need to be doing. Very good. Now we're going to do that one just a little bit slightly faster. See if you can keep up. Ready, go. Your fingers should be moving just like a machine. Back to third. The fingers that aren't being used should be just hovering right above the fretboard where they need to go. Slow, even strokes. Try it one more time, a little bit faster. Ready, go. Very good. Let's go to the second string.